All right, we should be live. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Geopolitics on the Tone Vays YouTube channel. By myself today, how's my audio? How is my video? Let's get confirmation on that and then we'll get moving. Uh, I really want to turn this YouTube channel into a geopolitical channel. This has been my interest for a while, and I'm going to do my best to stay on topic, each topic. And the topic for today is going to be Russia-Ukraine. We have not discussed Russia-Ukraine in a while. It's been at least a month, and time to discuss it. Let me see here. Yeah, throw in any comments in the live chat. I'll try to keep an eye on the live chat. Maybe one of my friends will join me and help manage the live chat, one of my moderators. Let's see if any moderators are online. And we go from there. Let me make sure that the stream is functioning correctly. Okay, this looks good. Looks like we have about 100 viewers right now. And let me just refresh this. And we're good. Let's see if we can finally, get out of Twitter prison. Oh, I see Sapwise. Hey, buddy. I'll be seeing you soon in person. Okay. Let's go to screen share. Time is 2 p.m. Eastern. I am in the woods of Pennsylvania. Tomorrow, I'll be smoking my ribs. Justin, hey, buddy. Yeah, say hi to Kino for me. You guys got to get out of communist California. All right, motorists can jump on. Motorist, I hope you have a better mic. Here's the link. And let's go. I'm gonna do a full screen share. Yeah, I'm not gonna dox anything this time, like I tend to do sometimes. And we go from there. I'm gonna share screen 2. I got too many monitors. We're gonna, as always, we begin with the price of Bitcoin. This is my allocation chart. I have panic sold everything. I'm in a 100% cash position. We are now slightly higher than at the point where I went into fully cash, and that's okay. I will wait until we break 64,000, and then I just go leverage, 100x long. No, not 100x long, but maybe 2 to 3x leverage long, and we're good to go. Bernoulli, welcome. Brian, welcome. Gordon, welcome. You joined the Russia-Ukraine stream. We'll see how this goes. And weekly chart. You know what? Watch our show this morning or watch our show last night on the Financial Summit YouTube channel in order to get the take. I'm not going to talk much about the price of Bitcoin. Not much is interesting. Short-term chart is breaking out. It's on a 5-minute MRI top. It's on a 1 hour. I don't know. I don't like it. Lower highs. I'm going to wait till it does something substantial. Shout out to Ocean Mining Pool for having more hash rate finally and finding a block just a few days ago. Unconfiscatable will be in Las Vegas. It's less than 1 month away. This will be officially the last unconfiscatable in Las Vegas. And after that, the poker tournament will just go around the world at other events. But if you want to be there for the final unconfiscatable in Las Vegas, don't miss it. And of course, the Financial Summit coming to the Maldives in March. And if you are interested in where I like to spend my time when I'm not in Panama or in the woods, that's in Prospera. You can check out those videos on my YouTube channel. And don't forget, the Financial Summit YouTube channel is where you catch all my financial analysis. Okay, my last few streams had to do with the Trump assassination. I have not had time to catch up. The last time I watched anything related to Trump was before my trip to Prospero, which was over 2 weeks ago. I have so much to catch up on, but at least I caught up on my Russia-Ukraine situation. And that's why today's discussion will be about Russia-Ukraine. You will see in the video description, I have posted a link to this article. This is my notes on Russia-Ukraine. I put these notes together a year and a half ago I have not had a chance to update this document in the last year and a half. I am going to try. I mean, there's so much I've forgotten in the last year and a half, but at least this describes a little bit of the conflict. I will try to, this is the future of this channel, so I really should try to keep my thoughts there. Now, Patrick, motorist, thank you for joining. Let's see how your audio is.
My audio is shit, but I've stopped caring. Hopefully, I don't screw up your stream.
All right. No, your audio is okay. It's okay. We
Or,
understand you. So that's good to go.
yeah,
Keep an eye.
our friend Jim Babb texted me after watching one of our streams. He said, "Dude, your audio is shit," and he recommended a mic. So I'm going to get the mic he recommended.
Okay, great. Well, your audio right now is okay, so it's fine. And yeah, so yeah, if you see anything good in the live chat that's on topic, interrupt me. If it's off topic, save the questions and maybe we address them at the end of the show. If I say something or you have a question, jump in as well. We begin with the live UA map. This is a pro-Western map. Keep that in mind. That means any territorial gains by Ukraine get updated quickly. Any territorial gains by Russia need triple and quadruple confirmation. There are a couple of important points here, the biggest one being in the last, I don't know, 10 days or so. I don't remember when it started, but over the last 10 days or so, Ukraine decided to mount an offensive into Russia. This is the first time something like this has happened in the 2 years of the war. Remember, there was a Ukrainian counter-offensive over here in I've already forgot the name of this region because it wasn't very memorable. Ukraine attempted to go into the Sea of Azov, but they barely made a dent. Russia has already taken back a part of this territory, and this was last year's big offensive that amounted to absolutely nothing. But this was an offensive of the territory that Russia has annexed from Ukraine. So it was basically an offensive inside the 1991 borders of Ukraine. This is different. This is an offensive inside the border of Russia. This has always been Russia, and Ukraine has mounted an offensive into Russia. Now, this has ridiculous significance that we're going to get into on this show, but I just want to give you a little bit of an update. Now, what else has happened since our last stream? Well, Russia has mounted an additional offensive in the vicinity of Kharkiv, in the Kharkiv region. So this is a good, so you can see the regions, right? This is the Donetsk region. Up here is the Luhansk region. This is the Kharkiv region, and this is the Sumy region. So Ukraine has started an offensive from the Sumy region. Russia has started an offensive into the Kharkiv region. We will talk about the significance of this a little bit later. The 4 regions that Russia has already annexed from the Russian legal perspective are the Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporozhye region, and they have about 70% of that region currently occupied by Russia. And Donetsk is also about 70% occupied by Russia. They still have 30% to take and 30% to take. And the Kherson region is also about that 70-75% range with another 20 to 30% to go before that region is fully covered. And we will talk about additional regions that I believe Russia is going to take before all of this comes to an end in this show as well. Now, I do have this document. I got to update this document. I got to proofread this document, but it's in the video description. You guys can review it. It does need a lot more information. Before I begin, Patrick, any comments, any questions before we start?
Yes, a couple questions. Gordon Einstein is asking when you're in Dubai. It's kind of off topic, so I put it to the side. But also a couple
Okay.
people.
I
Yeah.
honestly don't know. I know I usually go to Dubai in October. There's a bunch of conferences in October. I may not go. My life has completely changed where back in the day, well, back in the day, they used to cover my expenses to go to these conferences. I've never been paid, maybe twice. Let me just say never. I almost never been paid to speak at events. I used to go at my own expense. I used to go at the conference paying me for my travel, sometimes hotel, sometimes flight, sometimes both. Uh, and it made sense because I like to travel, and when it's free travel, and all I have to do is speak, I'll go. Then it became they're not covering my expenses, but I still really like to go to new places, and I get some kind of return on my investment. It would cost me like $5,000 to travel to the other side of the world, speak at a conference, stay at a hotel. I usually get free food, either from the conference events or friends taking me out to dinner. Um, Less so these days. But I still get some kind of return. I get new followers. I sell my indicator. I kind of make money on it. That has now stopped. So in order for me to go to Dubai, I'm just going there at my own expense with like no profit to be made from it, and it makes it very, very challenging. I have only traveled across an ocean once this year, where before it used to be weekly. The chances of me going back to Dubai this year are actually low, but I will be in Dubai next March because the financial summit in Maldives is the month after. Actually, the month of March, so maybe I'll come in late February. So the chances are low I'll make it to Dubai later this year, unless I mean, if some event is covering my travel expenses to get there, and I'm kind of getting used to business travel now, and everything's more expensive, it's unlikely. And even if they're covering my business travel, I still have to make that decision. All
And
right. So,
Gordon's saying stay with us. I don't know if he means at his house, but whatever.
oh no, I got plenty of places to stay in Dubai. I Staying in Dubai is not a problem. I usually stay at Da Vinci's these days, but where to stay is not. I have a lot of friends in Dubai I can stay at. But thank you for the offer. I may take you up on that. Gordon, DM you offline. We talk. Okay. Now, um, I am still on screen share. Yep. Let's go to this discussion. I should have wrote down my list of points. Maybe I will, add my own notes and thoughts to the document. Okay. So over here, show notes. What's today's date? August. What is today?
16th.
16th.
Yep.
Show notes, August 16th. Okay. So the question is this: why did Ukraine invade Russia? Right? That's question number one. Right? Why did they do it? So we can list a number of reasons. Okay. Ukraine is losing proof of news and needed to be back in the cycle, in the news cycle. Okay. Reason one. Reason two. Huh, it's not putting in the numbers, right? Need to prove to NATO um, they should still be supported. Okay. Three, bargaining power in peace negotiations. Okay. So any other reasons? What do you guys think? All right. Now, the other question becomes, the other question to discuss is, how did Russia let this happen? See if there's any other reasons why I filled this out. Okay. How did Russia let this happen? Right. So reason number one, I already see it. Russia is weak. That's in the how did Russia let this happen? Right. Reason number two, Russia overestimated their strength. Very different. Strength. Very different, right? Three, Russia is corrupt, and they thought the border was secure when it wasn't, right? This was Ukraine's problem, right? Remember, Ukraine was supposed to have a secure border to prevent Russia from entering Kharkov. And what happened was all of the dragon teeth and all of the stuff that, all of the statements how secure the Ukraine border was from additional Russian invasion turned out to be bullshit. The money was pocketed, the money was stolen, okay? Now, another one that's floating around, and we're going to address these one by one. Another one that's floating around, I got to make sure this thing is not like, I don't think anyone can comment on this. I hope only a few people are able to like write and delete this shit. I got it. Hold on. Let me come with screen share for 1 second. I want to check my settings. Okay, I had to change permissions. This document was set to anyone with a link can edit, and I just made this link public. So I thank God I just checked that and changed it. So now anyone with a link can comment instead of, and if the comments get, useless and out of control, I'm going to remove that possibility. But right now, anyone with this link can comment, but they can't edit. Thank fucking God. I did that before someone deletes it all. Okay, let's go back to screen share. So another one is Russia did it on purpose. Russia allowed Ukraine to enter in order to trap them. Okay? So another possibility. So these are, that's my list, right? Now, another question we need to answer, and we're going to go through these. Another question is this good for Ukraine? Is this good for Ukraine long term? And, there's pros and cons to this, right? We're going to debate yes or no. Okay? And finally, is this incident long-term advantageous for Russia? Yes or no? And we debate. Okay? But there's a caveat here. Is this incident embarrassing? Yes or no? That one should probably be first. Okay. So what am I missing here? Is there any discussion topics that we still need to cover? I should have done this before we started the show, but I'm doing it on live here.
I think you're covering everything.
Okay. So, oh, there's one more. It's another question. What is Ukraine objective with this? I mean, you can call it whatever you like. You can call it special military operation, whatever you want, right? What is Ukraine's objective with this military strategy? And after you identify the objective, right? I have my opinion, okay? Well, actually, we can put it here. I believe number 4 is going to be the answer.
Tom, there is one other piece of news.
They wanted to take the Kursk nuclear power plant.
There might be one other discussion point you might want to cover.
Okay, what
The
is it?
so there was a story that came out recently that said that Ukraine was it was a private rented yacht with Ukrainians, and they went.
I'm not covering that. It's stupidity beyond all imagination. It's
Okay,
the
all
dumb,
right.
it might have been the dumbest article ever published. If you wanna, if anyone is interested in learning about that, go to YouTube and check out what the Duran had to say about it. So, the Duran did coverage on that story. I believe they did it yesterday, right here. The Wall Street Journal Nord Stream story, they did great coverage on that. And this morning, they posted a video on Kursk information war. They pretty much said everything I'm about to say in the show. I was ready to do the show before I even watched this, but okay. So let's address some of these. And I think this move is incredibly stupid. Let's cover the first parts first. Let's cover the first parts first. Why was it done? I think these more than one reason can be true. Okay, I think they are out of the news cycle, and they need to get back in the news cycle that they're actually doing something. They need to prove to NATO that they still need more weapons. They wanted bargaining power in the negotiations, and the best way to do that. So I'm going to put it here. Best way was to take the power plant. But they didn't make it. They didn't make it to the power plant. So if you look at a Google map, the power plant is right here. It's next to this body of water. And Kursk is right here. That's the capital. Now, what people have to understand is there's very little human beings that live between this border and the center of Kursk. This is where the capital is. This whole region is called Kursk, but the people live here, the power plant is here, and this is pretty much empty land. There was almost no military resistance for Ukrainians to get into this land. Now, you can say that Russia messed up. Personally, I do not believe, so now we're over here. Like, I do not believe that Russia is weak. That is false. Russia overestimated their strength. Maybe, right? They got a little, they're making so much ground in Western Ukraine that they kind of overestimated the ability. Now, Russia is corrupt, and they thought that the border was secure when it wasn't, and the money and the soldiers that were sent to protect it were partying and getting drunk and deserting, and a long shot. It's maybe, right? So this is unlikely, but I don't rule it out. Don't rule this out. I'm not ruling it out, okay? And Russia allowed Ukraine to enter in order to trap them. I'm going to say no. So I don't believe that Russia did this on purpose. The reason I don't believe that Russia did it on purpose is because it is embarrassing for Russia to allow Ukrainians to invade pre-1991 border of Russia, because Russia is supposed to be the strong, powerful military that while they're in this war with Ukraine and NATO, they're also have their military helping Syria, and they have their military helping in Africa, and they're using their military to help in Iran. And how are they helping all these countries because they have such a powerful military, while at the same time not being able to secure their own border? I believe this is embarrassing for Russia, and I think Putin is very, very angry that this happened. So let's start there. Is this incident embarrassing? Yes, absolutely, 100%. Okay, very, very embarrassing for Russia. The answer is yes. Is this good long-term for Ukraine? And that is a big fat no. And this is going to be what we talk about today. So, how did Russia let this happen? I just covered it. Personally, I think that Russia did not think that Ukraine would do something this stupid. okay? It is stupid on multiple levels. Now, Ukraine might have had a decent plan. They had a pretty good plan if they would have been able to go and take the nuclear power plant. That would give them significant bargaining power. But as you can see by this map, Ukraine is still like 20 miles, 20, 30 miles away from the nuclear power plant that's next to Kursk, the capital Kursk of the region. And they're not going to make it because Russia has now secured the area and Ukraine is not going, and they're going to secure the nuclear power plant the most. So if Ukraine does move, they're going to move laterally. So if we go to a map here and we see what happened here, and the border with Russia is even less secure, it is very possible that Ukraine can open another front over here. And if Ukraine opens a front over here, this becomes what I talked about in the past. Ukraine would now be able to shorten the front line and take this area here. And if they do take this area, now they can mount a potential bigger offensive towards Kursk from here. So it is a little bit troublesome. Can I undo these? I can't. And Ukraine can obviously extend laterally a little bit because it doesn't look like Russia has enough men to stop this attack. But they do have enough men to prevent Ukraine from making it from where they are right now to the nuclear power plant. That's how far they have to go. They have to go 20 more miles. And this area is now being secured. But if Russia starts securing this area, and if Russia starts, their number one priority is to prevent Ukraine from making it to the nuclear power plant. If they start putting too many troops on the border, they're going to potentially allow Ukraine to storm in there. So their concentration is going to be up here, thus allowing Ukraine to move east and west and laterally along the border, thus potentially taking more land. But even that is going to be questionable. Now, let's discuss this some more. While Ukraine decided to attack this area, where did they get the men to do it? They got the men to do it from two areas. And this is also super important. They pulled people from the front line. That's one way they got the men. The second way they got the men is they pulled men that were guarding the Belarusian versus Ukrainian border here west of Kiev. These men were able to regroup and go here. So the men that were guarding the border with Ukraine are not proven military fighters. Patrick, if you're messaging me in the Zoom chat, that's a bad idea. I don't like having another chat up. So message me in Telegram would be way
Okay.
better.
Well, most of it is just notes for myself, but I did message you once.
Okay. Oh, because I see 4 messages. Okay, no, you can leave them for yourself then. That's fine. So the men coming that were guarding the border with Belarusia, they're not seasoned military veterans that have been fighting for years. The men that they pulled from the front line had a lot more fighting experience. So this group, I don't know how many men they have. I don't know how many men were killed. I don't go into that kind of detail because that's not my specialty, and I don't know if those numbers can be trusted, okay? I'm just going to speak in generalities. The Ukraine probably has between 5 and 10,000 men in this operation, okay? Which is more than the few hundred men Russia probably had guarding the border. So they had no shot at stopping the Ukrainians. And they pulled thousands of good troops from here. And because they pulled thousands of good troops from here, look at the Russian point of attack. And this is very, very critical, okay? Russia is now storming right here in the area of Donetsk, and we've talked about this this before. The Donbass area is both Luhansk and Donetsk, but this is specifically Donetsk. And this area of Donetsk is taking them into the city of Pokrovets, right here. They are very close to capturing Pokrovets. And this is a very, very important area. It's incredibly important. On a Google map, it's actually better. Like, I wish they were using a Google map. Okay, so here is Dnipro, very important city. Pavlodar is another very important city, but Pokrovets is super, super important. Okay, when Russia captures this city, they would basically be able to prevent the Ukrainian supply line. Well, once they capture Pokrovets, they're then going to go and capture Pavlodar very, very easily. This is a very important stronghold. This is the stronghold right here. Oh, what happened? Hold on. Something is off. Okay. Once they capture this city, once they do this, and this is going to happen very soon. Once Russia captures this, they break the Ukrainian supply chain. Right now, the Dnieper River is a very thick river. There is not a lot of places where Ukraine is able to move NATO equipment towards the front line. It is very, very challenging, okay? And Ukraine is moving the equipment to the front line in this direction. They're going this way. And from here, this equipment spreads this way and this way. Okay? And once they capture the city, they basically break everything. Russia, let me delete this. By taking the city, Russia opens up this entire area to be easily taken over. And this entire area to be easily taken over. So it's a race as to who can capture the most important point. Whether Ukrainians can capture the nuclear power plant in Kursk before Russia can capture Pokrovets. Okay? Because once Russia captures Pokrovets and these two lines collapse, there is almost no resistance to then take over Pavlodar. And the fractal repeats. Once they take Pavlodar, there is no resistance to take over Zaporozhye. Ukraine would not be able to defend Zaporozhye. And they would no longer be able to defend south of Kharkiv. All of this is now gone super quickly. Now, the city of Kharkiv has like 1 million people. That's going to be a major challenge. Russia will eventually take the city. We're going to talk about that, right? But once they do this, the city of Dnipro is no longer defendable. And now Russia annexes the entire Zaporozhye region. That would be this region here. Wait. I'm sorry, they already got the Zaporozhye region. They would take Zaporozhye city. They already have the Zaporozhye region, but they don't have the major city. And that's when they are able to annex Dnipropetrovsk. The whole region of Dnipropetrovsk now, oops, hold on, clicked something. Now the entire region of Dnipropetrovsk goes to Russia. Where are we here? Here, okay. Now this entire region, once they capture this, the main city, that's it. They're taking this whole thing. And now let's discuss, what does this mean for Russia? What does this mean for Ukraine? Personally, I do not believe the Ukrainians will be able to capture a nuclear power plant. And Russia is now going to take full advantage of this embarrassment. Yes, Russia was embarrassed by Ukrainians not only entering Russian territory, but actually capturing this Russian territory, even though there's very little, even though it's mostly farmland. Okay, but they are gonna now not panic, and they're gonna use the best of their situation. They're gonna now pretend like this was on purpose in order to trap the best fighters that were taking from the front line into this area, and they're gonna create a cauldron out of it. So it's very possible that the Ukrainians are gonna hold on to this land for the rest of the year. And what Russia is going to do for the rest of the year is to try to allow the Ukrainians to have hope that they can advance towards the nuclear power plant. So the Russian strategy, the reason why Russia has been so effective in this war, is because they are both attacking and defending at the same time. This is the genius of their military strategy. They're attacking and defending, because a defending force usually has a 3 to 5 to 1 advantage. When you are in a defensive position, if you're in a defensive position on an elevated position, your advantage is astronomical. It's 5 to 10x. If you're in a defensive position, you have the advantage. So what Russia does is it attacks and then it retreats and puts itself in a defensive posture. And this is why Russia was able to attack Ukraine with a smaller military force than the Ukrainian military force trained by NATO. And they were able to do so well. The propaganda in the West is how terribly Russia did in attacking Ukraine. But in reality, the force that Russia attacked with was so much smaller than a Ukrainian force. And Ukrainians played into the hands of the Russians, where Ukrainians went on the attack after Russia attacked. So Russia will not put themselves in a Ukrainian position. Russia will not barrel in full blast I don't know how to draw multiple arrows, but it doesn't matter. They're not going to barrel in here. Okay? They're going to put themselves in a defensive position. They're going to enter a little bit, and then they're going to retreat, and then they're going to let Ukraine move, and then they're going to win the battle of casualties from a defensive position. And Russia is not going to care if this land is in Ukrainian hands for the rest of the year. Yes, it's embarrassing, but it's more embarrassing for Ukraine to enter Russian territory, because China is helping broker peace deals in both the Middle East and in Ukraine. And this move by Ukraine is very embarrassing. Like, it makes China look bad. And China is now pissed at this because Putin put a peace deal on the table. But now, with Ukrainians entering Russian soil, Putin can completely ignore any attempt at peace while Putin tries to get his land back. And Putin is going to take his damn sweet time taking this land back. And as long as Ukrainians are controlling, pre-1991 border Russia, the Russians that want Putin to broker peace with Ukraine, they're not going to be able to say shit as to why there is no peace deal with Ukraine. This insignificant piece of land, of Russian farmland, will now allow Russia not only to continue this war without seeking a peace plan, it now, in addition, I'm going to jump around a bit. If you guys recall, this is where I'm going to jump back a little bit. I'm going to try to keep me on track, but it's still on topic here. So I'm going to use orange because the red is just too bright. And remember, this here, I'm going to use red. This is the land that's already Russia according to Russia. Okay? This is the land that is now, Jesus Christ. This is the land that is now Russia according to Russia. This is the land that I believe Russia wants and will get. Okay? They are also, and this. And now, because of this stupidity by Ukraine, now informs every single Russian that the Sumy region needs to be taken over by Russia because Ukraine has just used the Sumy region to enter Russia proper. This gives full-blown reason for Russia to take over Sumy. And because Ukraine, in addition to this stupidity, has also attacked the cooling station of the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, it states to the world again that Ukrainians are irresponsible with nuclear reactors. And this gives also a reason for Russia to take over Chernihiv region, which will also give them eventual control of the old Chernobyl power plant. Okay? So these two regions, any region that borders Russia, will now be absolutely taken over by Russia before this is over. There is another reason why this move by Ukraine was totally stupid and very, very bad for Ukraine. The reason is because by invading Russia, it now opens the door, which didn't exist before. Let's be clear. Belarus was never legally able to attack Ukraine. Belarus has a military pact with Russia. If Russia is attacked, or Belarus is attacked, the other country can come to its aid. Okay? Belarus did not have legal justification to declare war on Ukraine, but they do now. Now that Ukraine has officially entered Russia with military, taking over Russian land and stating that they're going to keep this land, legally, Belarus can now use the military defense treaty they have with Russia. And Belarus can now, well, they're not going to take all of Kiev, right? So now Belarus could be like a turkey, right? They yap more than they talk more than they do. But if Putin can now pressure Belarus to attack Ukraine on Ukraine's soil with legal justification. Now, I don't know what legal justification NATO will have to attack Belarus because Ukraine is not in NATO. So what legal justification, as long as Belarus does not attack Poland, there is no Article 5 triggered. Now, if Belarus would have attacked Ukraine prior to this week, then there could be all this outcry that Belarus declared entering Ukraine with no legality. But now they have legality. Now, I don't think they will do it, but they could do it. I'm not ruling it out. And now Putin is going to put all kinds of pressure on Belarus to stack the border with Belarusian and Wagner troops, which will create a problem because then the Ukrainians will have to move their troops out of Sumy to defend this massive border with Belarus. All while massive territory is being lost in Donetsk, as I already explained. Okay, this is why Putin probably never thought that Ukrainians would do something this stupid. Not to mention, they now have China pissed at them because Russia did put a deal on the table. But Ukraine thinks they're going to be able to use this little speck of land to trade for the land that Russia took. But Russia would never go for that. Russia knows that they can take this land at any time if they really wanted to. But now that they've already been embarrassed, they're just going to use it as a cauldron to let Ukrainian troops, fall on a sword, basically, in this region. All right, I'm going to stop here for a minute because I'm starting to ramble. Patrick, any good comments on anything I said? Any comments that you have while I go back to my list of notes to see if there's anything I missed?
Sure. I think that's a really interesting point about Belarus having a legal justification to enter the war. That's something that I didn't think about. I mean, I'm not. The reason why I brought up the pipeline is because, according to the NATO charter, U.S. is now legally, almost you could say, obligated to now attack Ukraine, and Germany has a legal justification to attack Ukraine, and part of the NATO charter. That's the reason why I brought it up. I just think that it's kind of a it's weird. It's weird because part of me believes the story and part of me doesn't believe the story. It could just be the U.S. trying to get rid of Zelensky. Like that's why they did it. Why they released the story that way. The one part of the story that I find the most unbelievable is the fact that Zelensky suddenly tried to call it off. Like he ordered it and then he tried to call it off. I think it's probably true that he may have tried to call it off, but I don't think he ordered it. I think he tried to call it off because he didn't order it. That would make more sense. Like it was being done without his knowledge, and he's like, "Hey guys, don't do that," and he wasn't able to call it off in time. That sounds more reasonable than he ordered it and then he changed his mind later.
Look, all of that is possible. We can discuss it, right? We can, kind of mentally, mentally discuss. Anyway, there's another word I was going to use there, but I didn't use it. But look, I don't know. This is the problem, right? Ukraine, by doing what they did, by entering Kursk through the Sumy region, it was such a dumb move. It was an unpredictable, dumb move. What is the reason why America would spread this ridiculous story that it was the Ukrainians that bombed the pipeline, and it was Zaluzhny that did it after Zelinsky told him not to do it? This story makes no sense. I don't think the Ukrainians have the capability of doing this. I believe Seymour Hersh's original story is the most accurate story. Maybe it's not 100% accurate, but it's maybe 90% accurate versus this insanity, which is maybe 15 to 20% accurate, right? What is the reasoning behind it? Well, I can say that for the same reason that it was an unpredictable, dumb move to invade Russia proper, this is an unpredictable, dumb move by the US to spread this story. Are they trying to cut Ukraine loose? But this move into Russia proper has all of the neocons clapping. So they're happy that Ukraine is going in, right? So, and now they're providing them more weapons. By the way, there is something else that I haven't said. So I don't know what the end play is here. Are they doing it to try to get rid of Zelensky? I thought Zaluzhny was their man to take over for Zelensky. Now this removes Zaluzhny from being the president of Ukraine. This creates a big problem. How is this guy now an ambassador to the UK? It does create the possibility of NATO having justification to attack Ukraine, but that's literally the opposite of what NATO was doing and wants to do. So that makes no sense at all. So everything just makes no sense. There's one more thing I totally forgot to mention in this discussion. Let me go back to the image. Okay. There's one more problem here. And the reason why China is extra pissed. With Ukraine entering by Ukraine, I can't draw like I was there, so I got to do this. With Ukraine entering Russia proper, they're doing it with NATO weapons. And when before, yeah, they're firing missiles, this, and that. Firing missiles into Russia proper, you can say it's the Ukrainians that are, like rogue generals that are just firing off missiles into Russia proper. Okay, but this is a direct attack by NATO weapons onto Russia proper. Like this is not like you can't sweep this attack under the rug. Like you're not going to say, oh, these are, angry Muslims from the Chechnya region, like what happened at Krakow City Hall in Moscow, right? You can't say, oh, this is like a lone wolf that blew up Daria Dugina, right? You can't say, oh, this is like a drone firing at a boat, right? This sustained attack and land grab inside Russia proper is literally an attack by NATO. NATO-trained troops with NATO weapons, and Russia is now on the record saying that they believe that it was Ukrainians being trained in Poland by Americans, and there were some Americans in this attack in this region, right? So this is something that America said was not going to happen. America always said, hey, we're giving Ukraine weapons for defensive purposes only. And you can kind of claim that it's defense by firing a rocket from Odessa region into the Russian fleet that is now like back here somewhere. Like I have no idea. Like I think the Russian fleet's over here, right? You can say that it's a defensive move. It's part of our defense to attack a ship that's not even, because the ship can fires from here into Ukraine proper. Okay. You can claim that Russia has missiles here that fire into Ukraine proper, so we can use missiles to attack, Russia in Russia with a missile because we're doing it for defensive purposes in order to destroy an offensive weapon that is firing at us. You can make that argument. You cannot make the argument that what Ukraine just did is for defensive purposes. They're trying to make the argument that it's done for defensive purposes. Ukraine needs a buffer against Russia. That does not hold water in any way. So Ukraine has literally crossed an American red line that NATO weapons would not be used to attack into Russia. They just did it. And this is not defendable. And this is another thing that is pissing off China, that the red line that America drew, that wasn't going to happen, besides Biden saying we're not going to have American fighter jets in Ukraine, and there's now F-16s there, okay? And this is the other stupidity of it that I forgot to say earlier. Yeah, I don't have much. I mean, like, come on. The story of, we all know who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. It was Americans and the Europeans. We all know it. I don't think there was a single Ukrainian involved in that mission, because if they let a single Ukrainian know they're going to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline, he would have tweeted out all about it. This is how Russia is able to destroy all of these secret bases and all of these Ukrainian strongholds in the center of Ukraine because Ukrainians can't shut up on social media. There's no way they would have told a single Ukrainian that they were going to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. The Ukrainians were blabbed all about it on social media.
And the question is, why is the U.S. throwing Ukraine under the bus like that? That's the question. That's what I want to know. And when the war first started, there was this meme that came out that showed a picture of Zelensky with a picture of, say, Saddam Hussein and a picture of Osama and a few other like so-called American allies that later turned into American enemies. And we were, people were saying that, oh, Zelensky's going to be next. He's our ally now, but eventually he's going to turn into some bad guy. And maybe that's what they're trying to get to at some point.
That's a great question. It's a question we've explored on this channel many times. I don't know how to make it short, unfortunately. Look, one, I think that in the last 30 years, maybe even in the last 50 years, the number one mission of America is to weaken and break up Russia. I think that the only thing that's comparable, like let's go 30 years, right? Let's go since the breakup of the Soviet Union. From the moment the Soviet Union broke up, America had its biggest and most consistent mission is to break up Russia. The Soviet Union broke up, but Russia is too big. It has too much natural resources. They wanted to do to Russia what they kind of helped do in Venezuela. We're going to do a show on Venezuela, actually. It's going to be a super interesting show. They want to do to Russia what they're currently doing to Ukraine. America wanted to break up Russia and bring in American industry to strip Russia of its natural resources. Now, this mission to break up Russia took a back seat to America controlling the Middle East. So after 9/11, the mission to destroy Russia took a back seat to America destroying the Middle East. And today, and here's the interesting part. Today, America, or taking over the Middle East. The battle for the Middle East has been lost, and America pretty much admits that the battle, America to control the Middle East is gone, right? That's the Saddam Hussein, and they destroyed Libya, they tried taking over Syria. It stopped with Syria because Russia came in to help Syria, and that's when American destruction of the Middle East stopped because they needed to destroy Syria, and then they were going to take over Iran. It was going to be Afghanistan was in shambles, Iraq was in shambles, Lebanon, Libya, they were all done. Saudi Arabia was a friend, Jordan was a friend. So their next step was Syria, but Russia prevented it. Without Syria, without their control of Syria, or Syria being rubble, they could never enter Iran. And now Iran has gotten too strong, and Syria is somewhat strong, and now Iran and Saudi Arabia are on good terms. We're going to do a whole Middle East show probably next stream. So anyway, destroying Russia took a back seat to the Middle East. The Middle East battle stalled and has regressed. But during the last 30 years, China became the priority. So now, the control of the Middle East went into the trunk. Russia took a back seat. Russia stayed in the back seat to America's control, taking over China. How do we stop China? And the way America decided that the best way to take over China was to now focus on Russia to destroy Russia. I hope this makes sense because it makes sense in my head. Just like they needed to destroy Syria before moving on to Iran, which was the big problem in the Middle East, America suddenly realized they need to destroy Russia in order to have a chance to destroy China. So they ramped up their best chess move on how to destroy Russia by doing it through Ukraine, which was a very nasty way of trying to destroy Russia, because most of us, myself included, are half Russian, half Ukrainian, because the Russians or Russian origin begins in Ukraine, in Kiev. I mean, there was no such country as Ukraine, right? But Russian origins go to Kiev. Uh, so so many Russians are of Ukrainian origin, but there was no country of Ukraine at the time. Russians are of Russian origins from the landmass that is currently Ukraine, which is why this is so fucked up. Okay, and it's a very nasty war. And uh, if I and this is why it was very easy for Russia to take over all of this area in the red, because all the people that live here are native Russians, and they prefer to be Russian. And that's why Russia had no resistance getting it there, and now they have resistance mostly for geographical reasons, not border reasons, right? So if we once again go to a map like this, or the Google map, the reason why Russia is not able to take over all of Zaporozhye is for geographical reasons, and certain cities that were dominated by Western Ukrainians after the overthrow of Yanukovych, and geographical reasons like water barriers, right? So it would be very difficult for Russia to take over Zaporozhye because of Ukrainians are easily able to supply, and the major cities like Dnieper and Zaporozhye are not as Russian dominated as, say, Donetsk. So the more west you go, the more Ukrainians dominate the cities. And also time. The 30-year propaganda campaign that Ukrainians are Europeans and not Russians, and Russians are evil, after 30 years of this kind of propaganda, by the U.S., not to mention, all the leftover Nazis from World War II in West Ukraine, you know, takes its toll on the population over time, where they don't realize how brainwashed they got. But at the same time, 20 years ago, like uh, in the early 2010s, like when Russia collapsed in 2008, uh, or sorry, when Russia collapsed in early 2000s, or 1998, sorry, capitalism begins in Russia in 1991. In 1998, Russia has a big economic crash. Of course, you'd rather be European. I mean, Europe is awesome in 1998, right? That's when Europe is at the peak of its, like everyone wants to be European. Europe is amazing in the late 1990s. Russia is a disaster in the late 1990s, right? So obviously, Ukrainians want to be Europeans. Today, that's not the case, right? But 20, 30 years of propaganda that was heightened during that time period, with promises that Ukrainians will be Europeans one day, which is never going to happen, and promises of Ukraine entering NATO as of 2008, which is never going to happen. Um, all of this propaganda continued, and Europe is now a declining power, and Russia is a rising power. And eventually, Russian influence will spread across Ukraine, but it's going to take another 20, 30 years for that to happen. They have to reverse all of the. Ukraine is just a country influenced by two great powers. Does that explain it?
Yes, it explains it. I'm reminded that a lot of times when people try to determine whether a country is Asian or European, the determining factor is whether they belong to the UEFA FIFA group, or if they belong to the Asian FIFA group. So a lot of Armenians, as an Armenian, I always thought Armenia was part of Asia, but a lot of Armenians started saying, no, 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 we're European. Once the Armenian football team joined UEFA, which is the European Football Conference, and since Russia has been kicked out of UEFA for invading Ukraine, Russia is mentioning that they might join the Asian Football Conference with their national, so the Russian national team can start playing soccer again.
They should. Like I didn't watch any of the Olympics this year. I really couldn't care less. Were there Russian athletes in the Olympics?
So Russia was banned from participating in the Olympics, which was crazy because, as far as I know, the Olympics don't ban countries from participating. Countries sometimes protest and don't show up, but this is the first time that I can remember where the Olympics actually banned. There may have been Russian athletes playing, but I think they played under like other countries' flags, or they played under some other flag. I'm not really sure, but Russia itself was banned.
Right. So uh, I think that in the near future, uh, Russia, China, India, honestly, I think Olympics has become too politicized. And I really think that Russia and China will start their own version of the Olympics. Uh, and uh, and we'll see what Europe and America does.
And on that note, actually, Israel was a part of the Asian conference, their soccer team. But all these Asian countries didn't want to play against, like Iran, and a lot of these Middle Eastern Asian countries didn't want to play against Israel. So eventually, the Asian conference kicked Israel out of the Asian conference. So now Israel is part of UEFA. So Israel is part of the European conference. But now a lot of European countries don't like Israel. So Israel is actually, believe it or not, Israel is actually considering joining the South American Football Conference. If they'll take them, we'll see.
So it's interesting. So M. Stone writes, gold medal, a gold medal is about 1% gold. Back in 1904, it was 100% gold. Do you know how Russia and China could capture all the good Olympic athletes? By making the medal 100% gold.
Absolutely. Safedine was talking about that, how the gold medal is only 1% gold. Absolutely.
So if Russia and China wanted to create a competition to the Olympic Games, all they got to do is make the medal 100% gold, 100% silver. Russia, India, China, uh, Middle East, though I don't know how good athletics are in the Middle East, probably not that good, and Africa. Africa has some good athletes. Okay, they take these athletes and Southeast Asia, and they start their own competition to the Olympic Games, and we'll see what the rest of with medals that are actually gold, silver, and bronze. Traditionally, we'll see what the rest of the world does. Uh, it will be super interesting what's going to happen then. I would be, if I was Russia, I would be discussing this with China. Now, let's get back to the Russia-Ukraine situation. Any other good questions?
No, mostly the mods are battling some trolls in the comment. Apparently, there's a guy making a new account every minute and trolling, and we're banning him once a minute.
All right. Any questions on? Uh,
Let me see.
oh,
There was
someone is
one.
saying hard to believe Russia lost a war to Japan in 1905. No, it's not hard at all. You have to realize that. Look where Japan is. In 1905, without the Trans-Siberian Railroad, which they built, I think after that, how the hell is Russia supposed to send their military to uh, to the east coast of Russia to fight Japan? It's people have to stop just thinking of countries, Japan and Russia, as if they're two equally sized squares on a flat board. You have to take geography into account. One of the, I mean, the two biggest factors in military conquest is weapons and geography. It's not even the number of men. It's weapons and geography. They're the biggest factors. And after weapons and geography, now you're talking, the will to fight and the number of troops. But Russia had no ability to fight Japan based on geographical constraints. Like
Also, yeah,
Russia
yeah.
half the men would die trying to walk from one side of Russia to another or go by horse,
Also,
especially
you
in
have
the
to
winter.
remember in 1905, Russia was under Tsarist control, and they were a very backwards country. And they were very weak leaders. This is one of the reasons why the communists were eventually able to take over. One thing I wanted to mention, it's Steve mentioned something in the comments that I was thinking of as well, that there is a Mongol tactic where you actually retreat on purpose to draw your enemy into a trap. Most of the time in battle, when you retreat, it's just because you're trying to save your life and get away. But there was very few armies that were able to figure out a way to do a retreat where it was a deliberate retreat, not like a chaotic, everyone for themselves retreat. And the Mongols did that. And maybe there's some of that going on with Russia. I don't know.
No, they're absolutely using this tactic that they're retreating and letting the Ukrainians, just funnel in. Now, did they do it on purpose in the Kursk region? And I don't believe that they did. But now that the Ukrainians have entered, Russia will use that strategy to full advantage and will allow Ukraine to hold on to a little speck of Russia for as long as Russia can, because it gives Russia so many other advantages, including geopolitical advantages in negotiations and cooperation with other countries like Belarus, like China, like India, and proving to the world that Ukraine is attacking Russia. It's not only Russia attacking Ukraine. So Russia will just use this strategy to their advantage at this point.
Someone had a question on monkeypox's effect on the markets. I don't know if you wanted to talk about that, but it's
I'm
there.
sorry, what? Say again?
It said your views on monkeypox and its effects on BTC price. I guess I don't know if that's a real question or not. Sounds like a real question, but
It I don't know, it has the same effect as Ebola. Like it's uh, irrelevant. Okay. What else can I say about? I think that's it. Um,
Tone, some people were mentioning that they were getting an ad in the middle of the stream.
yeah,
For
I
those,
can't stop it. I really
no, no,
can't. Like, yeah.
I have a recommendation for those people. Try using Brave browser. I know Brave browser isn't perfect. I know they have a shit coin, but try that and see if that can stop it.
I don't know how to stop it. I mean, after the stream is over, I'll go and turn off ads, but like, well, they may still show up. YouTube is really being bad on this one. I gotta start streaming on Rumble or something. I'm waiting for my account to be banned.
Brave will automatically block ads.
Uh, all right. Any other comments, questions? I think I covered everything I wanted to cover on this. Um, they're never gonna make it to the nuclear power plant. Can glance at the price of Bitcoin. It's still rising. Great. I would love to see Bitcoin go to 64,000 so I can go back into my long trade.
Tone, I was going to ask you. I think you already answered me, but you're not playing in the Survivor pool this year, right?
No, I'm gonna skip sports. I'm gonna skip the football season this year. The football season this year is not interesting to me. It was borderline interesting last year, but Kansas City won again, which kind of makes it boring. And Brady's not playing. I was kind of wanted to watch the old man and like continue with the records. Sometimes I like uh, a GOAT player or a GOAT conversation player. Like no one's gonna beat Gretzky, right? But uh, LeBron will never get ahead of Jordan, right? But I actually hate LeBron. I think he's a terrible human being. That's why I hate LeBron. So I don't want to see him rack up more numbers. But when it came to Brady, I kind of like Brady, and I want to see him. So I was kind of interested in his last couple of years in those seasons, see how he does. And I don't know, like the last football season was super boring for me. There was nothing interesting there. There's no like exciting players to discuss. I don't know. I'm probably not going to watch football this year, professional football, maybe some college.
Yeah, a few people have told me that, but a lot of people are really excited about playing. So if anybody listening now is interested in joining the Survivor pool this year, go ahead and either DM me on Twitter or message me on Telegram, and I'll get you in the pool.
Hey guys, follow the Financial Summit for any financial videos. Don't forget Unconfiscatable. And I'm organizing trips to Prospera these days. Please check out the videos on Prospera and why I'm doing that. I'll probably open this up to strangers, but for now, I only do it with people that I actually know. And I am still trying to do research. If anybody wants to help me out here, let me grab an image from, if someone wants to help me out with, oh, I should probably save that image. Hold on. Where did it go?
Bernoulli had a good question for you.
1 second. I gotta save this picture. 1 second. I'm gonna close this. Actually, no, I'm gonna open a new one. File. How to open a new one? Hold on. Okay. This is from ChatGPT because it proved what I already knew. I actually don't care about ChatGPT. If anyone has the proper answer to this, proper answer, right? By all metrics, Japan's debt, government debt, is $9.4 trillion. And Japan's GDP, I thought it was lower at 4.6, but here. So even ChatGPT admits that the debt of Japan is 9-something trillion and GDP of 4-something trillion. And yet everyone quotes that Japan's debt to GDP is 258%. But when you divide 9.4, and then when you, even this is ChatGPT, Japan's debt is 258% to GDP. How did you get this number, ChatGPT? And ChatGPT says, well, I divided 9.4 trillion by 4.6 trillion. And then you ask GPT, can you please divide 9.4 by 4.6 and explain how you got 258 and not 204? ChatGPT gets very confused and it says, I don't know how to divide. So if anyone knows how Japan's debt to GDP number gets calculated, I would love to know, okay? What I need is, and this is in my spreadsheet, I'm trying to figure this out, and I don't know. Don't send me an article that says the debt is 265%, right? Every article says that the Japanese debt is 200%, right? But in order to get that number, the Japanese debt needs to be approximately 11 trillion. Where does this number come from? If anyone has a source, if anyone out there has a source that explains how the 258, 263, anything in the 260 range, if it states what two numbers they are dividing, which debt number they are dividing, and where is the source of this number, okay?
Tom.
Yeah.
Be careful with using ChatGPT for math because ChatGPT literally thinks that 9.11 is greater than 9.9, and it will argue
I'm
with you.
not surprised.
Yeah, if you try to correct it, it will argue. Yeah.
I'm not surprised. ChatGPT is a disaster. Okay.
Apparently Gemini is a little bit better with math, but ChatGPT is a disaster with math.
And I found this. Someone pointed me to this document, and it shows you the full debt of Japan right here. Shows government bonds at 11,460. This could be the number that they're using. Okay. But then I don't know why all consensus says that Japanese debt is 9.2 to 9.6 trillion. I found this here that has 11. This number makes sense. But there are endless amount of websites and articles that are stating that Japan's debt to GDP is in the 260% range. And none of them source how they calculate this number. And this is what's frustrating the fuck out of me. Okay? If I can find the source of this number, I can then use that logic to find debt to GDP of other countries. Because there is standardization of GDP numbers across the world. but there is zero standardization on debt numbers. Is it only federal bonds? Is it federal plus local bonds? There is zero standardization, okay? And this is why this is so hard.
Bernoulli is going to be traveling in Panama, and he was asking you about possible yellow fever shots. Do you have an opinion whether it's worth it or whether the shot is worse than what it prevents? Do you have any opinions on that?
Sure. So speaking of someone who has a yellow fever shot, ironically, I did my yellow fever shot in January of 2020. As crazy as that sounds, that's before I became a full-blown anti-vaxxer. This is back when I used to believe vaccines were good, and I have completely
You
turned
just got
180 on it.
demonetized. You just got demonetized, Tom. Just letting you know.
Probably. Uh, uh, and so I do have the yellow fever vaccine shot and certificate. It is necessary to travel between countries. Would I get the yellow fever vaccine shot for the prevention of yellow fever? The answer is I would not. The only reason I would get the yellow fever vaccine is for certain travel. The travel with yellow fever vaccine is really, really complicated. It's about your exit country. So for example, you as an American can fly from America to Panama and then from Panama back to America without having a yellow fever vaccine. You as an American can also travel to Brazil and you can leave Brazil and go back to America without a yellow fever vaccine, but not if you're connecting through Panama. So as an American, if you booked a round-trip flight to Brazil, you flew direct to Brazil, but on your way back, you thought it would be cheaper to have a connector in Panama without ever leaving the airport. You'd have to 1 hour connector in Panama. They will not let you on the plane from Brazil to Panama as an American without a yellow fever vaccine. And a lot of Americans don't know this, and they realize it when they get rejected at the airport, okay? Which is insane, all right? So when you're going from, so for example, I went to Honduras recently, and I went to Honduras from Panama. But as an American, I had to prove to them my yellow fever vaccine. Had I flown and connected in Miami, so instead of flying directly from Panama to Honduras, had I flown from Panama to Miami to Honduras, I would not have needed to show them my yellow fever vaccine card. It's literally your exit country. Because if it's a country that potentially has yellow fever, they think that you catch yellow fever, you fly to their country, you get sick after landing, and you're going to spread yellow fever to people in that country. So it's totally stupid. I'm not going to say anything illegal on this channel, but if you have other means of not getting jabbed, I recommend not get jabbed. Or routing properly from countries that don't have a yellow fever exit, like it depends. Again, you can't say that. And also passport specific. If you are a Panamanian citizen, right, and you're flying from Miami to Honduras, they may ask you for your yellow fever vaccine, but all you have to do is tell them, I've been in America for 3 months. Why do I need a yellow fever vaccine? And they'll probably be fine with it, right? So it's literally your exit country that matters, and there is no single table that can explain it all, just like daylight savings time and clock changes. Like it's
It
almost
sounds
impossible
like
to keep track.
it sounds like you don't need to have it, the paperwork at least, if you're traveling through the Panama Canal on a boat. It sounds like based on what you're saying, you don't need it for that purpose.
No, absolutely not. Well, let me not be 100% sure, but you should not need it for that purpose, right? But if you are right after the Panama Canal, you're going to show up in, say, Colombia, you may need it to enter Colombia. Like you don't need yellow fever to enter Panama or exit Panama, but if you're going somewhere specific that requires the yellow fever, then sure. All right, guys. On that note, I'm going to get going. Thank you all so much for watching.
Before we sign
Yeah.
off, can we talk about the scammies for just a minute?
After the live stream?
No, we could talk about it right now. I mean, just for a minute, I just wanted to make an announcement and get your feedback
Okay, go
on
ahead.
here. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going through and I'm, going through potential nominees and stuff for the scammies. I'm thinking about doing like a spaces where we can, kind of brainstorm and think because I have a whole bunch of people in my head that I think are deserving of nominations. But there's always a couple of every year, there's always a couple of snubs. There's always a couple of people that, they're like, oh, they should have been nominated, but we just forgot. So I always want to, kind of just make it an open forum and just to hear people throw out possibilities for nominations or categories. So I'd like to do a spaces at some time. I don't know if you would want to join that or not, Tone, or I could just do it on my own, maybe with Zazo or something.
No, we should definitely do an unconfiscatable spaces.
Okay. Yeah. Do you know what time? Maybe we can do a spaces at some time, maybe this weekend or maybe next week. I don't know.
Not Saturday. I'm grilling all day. All
Okay.
right, guys. On that note, signing off. Have a good day. See you all